Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Andy again. Tuesday morning Tai Chi and Qigong. So we're going to be doing some practices in body movement and breathing and getting the kinks worked out of the body. And part of this whole process is calibrating our systems and our unifying our mind and our body and all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get to it here shortly. All right. So once again, it's Tuesday morning, Tai Chi and Qigong with Sifu Andy, and we're going to just get out and move our bodies and breathe. And the least important thing is to have it perfect. It's just about getting up and moving the body and getting connected and getting our mind and our emotions and our body to kind of sync up a little bit better and build our capacity for having more energy in our life, more that oomph that gets us up and keeps us going. And then we balance that by having some stillness. So intermingled with our practice, we'll have some moments of stillness and tuning inward, as it's very important to be aware of the outside world and what's happening in life, but also what's happening inside me, what's happening inside you. And that's probably the most important thing of all. So let's go ahead and get up and get to it. I encourage you to visit my website and check out the article on having a home practice. You have a nice big open space. You might have to make adjustments. Always free to do it in the way that suits you best. So you might be seated at times. Just make sure it's not close enough to fall on, the chair, and make sure you don't have any trip hazards. And if I take, more movement in one direction, you don't have as much room, you could just kind of step back instead and make adjustments. Higher and lighter in your posture, the easier it is. The wider and deeper your stretch, the more demand on your body. So one of the greatest wisdoms that we want to develop is listening and listening to the body. So the body will tell us. The body knows we're thirsty before our mind knows that we're thirsty. So we want to listen to and feel what's happening inside this body unit here. So let's begin. Adjusting breath. Exhale as deeply as you can, as if your lungs are in your belly. Fill the breath from the belly up to the chest. Hold it, feel it full in the body. Squeeze it from the chest down into the belly. Let it go. Empty out so you can fill again. Gather. Absorb the fullness, the oxygen, and then squeeze it out. Releasing what we no longer need, as if we could breathe from the feet up to the head. As if breathing from the head down into the feet. And chi up. This little exercise is just that. It's an exercise, but it's an exercise to stimulate the hands and have this friction, this heat, the muscle tension, the movement. We have these physics taking place, but it's also about stimulating the energy body. So we have acupressure points and all kinds of stuff going on throughout our system. And we're just activating the hands, getting the hands engaged. And then relax the arms. Lift your shoulders towards your ears. Squeeze the fists. When we call into a squeeze, it might be a very gentle, minimal squeeze. If you're feeling tip top, maybe it's a firm squeeze. And then just let it go. Teaching the body the discernment, the difference between tight, tense, and in pain, and relaxed, soft, supple, yet resilient, strong. Take a moment to locate myself. I find myself here. I am here in this place. I am here in this body. I am here in this heart. I am here with this mind in this greater awareness. I am here in this moment exactly as I am in this present experience. I honor my choice to be here, that everything is okay enough that I can participate. At any time my circumstance changes, I can make a change in my choice I can do and not do as I need to. And as we center ourselves into this place, this body, this experience, we bring these intentions into our practice, that we honor the choice that we've made to do something good for ourselves, and in turn, that goodness that we cultivate within moves into the areas of our life, our relationships, and everything that's happening in the world. And in this process and journey, every day and every way, we are growing healthier, stronger, better, and wiser. Feel the pressure of your body, the connection of your feet to the earth. Feel the strength of your legs supporting you, and maybe even if you're seated, just press your feet a little bit into the ground. Just feel that pushback, the feedback from gravity and the body rooted to the earth, and the earth pushing back, providing the structure of support, foundation. Bend the knees, press the hands, evacuate the breath, squeeze it out from the chest down into the belly. Improving our respiratory capacity. Breathe from the belly up, energizing the system. Exhale from the chest down into the belly. Relaxing the system, letting go of unnecessary tension, stress. Gather, fill up. Feel the fullness. Let it absorb and then release all the excess, anything that's no longer needed. And third deep breath. As we gather our breath and we gather ourselves into our center. Clasping the hands behind the back, one into the other. Just kind of just right in the lower back of the wrists, just ever so lightly pressing towards the kidneys. Lifting one heel at a time. Let's go ahead and just work that ankle a little bit. Again, always take it in the range and the level that's right for you. Do or not do. Take what's for you. Let go of what's not. And if you're seated in a chair, you could do a similar movement. Just feeling the body. And then now, both feet planted, lifting one heel off the ground and moving side to side. Let the hips gently rock back and forth, as if you're taking a walk, walking in place, and free to adjust at any time, free to stop and catch your breath. Give yourself time, exercise patience and kindness in your journey. That if whatever is right for your body, that we give ourselves the time to grow, to strengthen, to become flexible and coordinated. A lot of times we hear, oh, I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible enough. Well, actually, yoga is how you get flexible, right? I can't do Tai Chi, I'm not coordinated. Well, that's how we get there. This version of Andy is not the same one that I was born as. And I certainly took a long time for me to really get into my body and become flexible and strong and coordinated. It's a long journey for me. So I encourage you to just take it one step at a time. Slow it down. Relax the arms. Shaking the branches of the tree. So again, especially if you have joint pain or something going on in the body, just real slow and deliberate, almost like you're, brushing your fingers through some water or something. And if that feels good and the body responds well, then you can make it more vigorous. The degree and extremity of how deep we stretch and how high we can lift our arms and all that stuff is really secondary just to you being in your body, breathing into the belly, unifying your system, your mind, your body, your breath, your energy. Everything can start working together. The internal systems, the organs, and all that stuff that's taking place without us even needing to think about it. Just provide the opportunity in the body for things to flow, to circulate, and to balance and relax. I feel some tingling in the body. I'm used to standing a lot, so occasionally you might step in place or shake a leg. Yeah, always free to make the adjustment. My feet are about hip width apart, as wide as shoulder width apart, not too wide, not too narrow. My toes are pointing straight ahead, and my knees are pointing in the direction of my toes, and I'm in a nice alignment. Go ahead and pull your shoulders back, and that's when the shoulders are back, maybe a little too far for natural posture. Sometimes with all of our forward, work, the shoulders and the head come forward. So I just kind of want to find that point where my shoulders relax to my side, my arms relax to my side, not too far back, not too far forward. And aligning my chest, my shoulders right above my belly and my hips. Gently bend the knees, riding the wave. Gentle bend in the knees, just like you're sitting onto the edge of a high stool right behind you. You're not going all the way down into a squat. Right? Want to be gentle with the body, and then when we're prepared, then we can ask more of it. So from here, hands on the thighs, light bend in the knees. I'm going to lengthen my legs, push off from my feet. And imagine that comes all the way up through my spine, out to my arms. And then as I reach about shoulder level, I relax my shoulders, my elbows, gently bend my knees, and the arms float back down. This is an opening move from a Tai Chi form. There's many variations you might have already experienced. This is just one method of many. We're just having this connection of the upper body and the lower body through the core, moving from the center. Chinese refer to as the Kwa. So I'm using this full body motion as I bend the knees and the arms float down. Push off from the legs and let the arms float up like floating up through water. I reach this top and then I let it float back down. Gently bending my knees, squeezing into my belly. My breath is in my belly, as if my lungs were in my abdomen. Breathe in. One of the quickest ways to get to the eye of the storm, to get to our center, to gather ourselves, collect ourselves, is by bringing the mind onto the breath, and breath into the belly, feeling the actual sensations of the breath as the belly expands on the inhale, squeezes on the exhale, as the chest expands on the inhale and squeezes on the exhale. You can continue with the motion as it is, breathing at your own pace, or we can take it up a little notch and begin to control and guide our breath. Exhale, coming down, inhale, rise. Exhale and release and sink. Floating back down, releasing the breath. If I can't breathe through my nose, I breathe like sipping through a straw. Slowing down the intake. Feel the fullness and let it go. Ah, the universal sound of relief, of release. Also slows down the exhale. Gather. And release. It can take a while to acclimate to the deep breathing, so if you just need to let it go and breathe naturally, that's what you do. Breathe. Hold it for as long as you can, and let it go. And relax the body. Relax the arms. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, close your eyes. You might have to take a seat, or you might start swaying back and forth or rocking forward and back. or twisting a little bit side to side until standing becomes comfortable. You might need to roll your shoulders and make a little adjustment in your body if you're feeling your body talking to you about things that are happening inside. Just bring your breath into your belly and take a moment of stillness. Taking a moment to nourish, to soak, and to tune inward. Aware of my breath, aware of my body, aware of my feelings, my emotions. What am I feeling at this time? And if it gets to be too much, then I could just take a deep breath and just shake it out a little bit and come back to that one another time. Aware of the thoughts in my mind. My brain is continually generating thoughts, associative connections, and all kinds of things taking place, sensory input. I cannot control the thoughts in my mind, but I can begin to shape them as if trimming a tree, shaping the direction of growth. I don't need to judge it as good or bad. I can just become aware of what's the content of my mind, what's coming into my awareness. And then as that happens, I can just let it flow on by. Just pay attention and be aware. Yeah, shaking the branches of the tree, shake a leg. Stepping in place a little bit. Maybe get a little silly with it. I like to get a little silly. Silliness helps my day quite a bit. Life is pretty silly and strange sometimes. It's okay. Okay. Once again, adjusting breath. Exhale. Gather the breath and lift. And let it go. If the big deep breathing isn't right for you, then make it gentle, soft, and easy. Third deep breath. Adjusting the breath, priming the pump. Readying the system. And let it go. Hands on the hips, moving side to side. So again, we're starting off kind of slow and easy on things, and sometimes I'm a little more, say, intensive with my practice, and sometimes I'm a lot more subtle, and sometimes a lot of body movement isn't even right for me just today or at this time. Maybe I'm in distress. Maybe life is just happening a little too much. Maybe I'm recovering from something. So I'm always paying attention to, is this actually the right practice? How does my body feel with what's happening? And do I go to the extreme of things? Or do I need to dial it back and be really soft and gentle, even if I do decide that some body movement is right for me right now? We're going to make a circle of the hips. So the hips go forward, hips to the side, the butt goes back, hips to the side. Feet about hip to shoulder width apart, toes pointed forward if your body does that comfortably. Over time, we can invite this realignment of the joints. When you're ready to slow it down, hip to the side, forward, side, and back. Your range of movement might be minimal, light, easy, super slow, gentle. You might feel really nice and open and getting a nice big circle in the hips, as if drawing a circle in the air. And we're ready to bring it to the center and relax. Trunk twisting. So moving the hips a little bit side to side, you'll feel a little bit of twist in the torso. As my hips turn to one side, my shoulders follow. And eventually I want to feel like this connection that I'm actually pushing off the ground. That my push from one foot moves me to the side, my push from the other foot moves me to the side. And instead of letting my body lean all the way over where it naturally would do with that push, I in turn let that push become a twist all the way up through my body out to my arms. You can begin bending the elbows and lightly tapping the body. And again, sometimes, just super light and easy is the way to go. Just let your body warm up. Be mindful of your spine. Breathe into the belly. One of the things that we run into with repetitive practices is that the repetition is necessary to create muscle memory, to create connection in the nervous system and connective tissues and circulation of blood and all kinds of things that are taking place. But also to the mind, it can be boring. Like, are we really doing this one again? Oh my gosh, how many times are we going to do this? Well, for me, that answer is just about every day, some form or another of these practices. And yeah, the great masters will tell you it's all about the basics, right? Going back to the foundations. Lifting the shoulders and rolling back. Backward roll the shoulders. And I like to get my whole body into it. So almost like my whole body and my arms are like a piston. And I press down, come forward and up and back. And sometimes I feel like, I want to get my spine and my pelvis involved. Sometimes it's really just about the shoulders, whatever's feeling right. And a forward circle in the shoulders. Opening up the chest, opening up the back. Get a lot of stuck energy in the shoulder blades and the upper back and neck. Some of us get really stuck in the lower spine or the mid spine. Just let that all open up a little bit and shake it out. It's a silk weaving exercise. Wrapping the fingertips in, pinky, ring, index, middle finger, and lastly the thumb. Opening up, almost like you're kneading dough in the air. And if having your arms high up isn't right for your body, then you could just let them come to the side. I'll slow this down so you can really see what's happening. So gentle fist, palms down. Get an internal rotation in my shoulder joint. Let my pinky open up each subsequent finger. And then I rotate to an external rotation in my shoulder. Roll the pinkies back into a fist and roll in. And again, I let my whole body get involved. And if standing for too long is uncomfortable, have a seat at the edge of your chair, the couch, or whatever's nearby. Or let the arms go lower. Or you might feel like, I actually really just feel like swaying and rocking right now. So there's a benefit to learning the technique, the method, and following it as it's prescribed, as it's transmitted. But there's also great wisdom in letting that be right for you. And that if I'm not entirely prepared to do it the way it's intended, and the way it's intended is just to show you the way to where eventually you do it your own way anyway, right? So it's not about being rigid and compelled to only do it this way or that way. It's really about you, about me, what's best, and following our own truth without harming others. Shake it out. If I had to say among probably the top 5 exercises that I would do for the rest of my life, besides the full set of Fire Flower Qigong, I would say exercise 1, pushing the sky. This is an exercise, its roots are in the name's not coming, Badua Jin. Sometimes words escape me, but the 8 brocades. It's a very famous Qigong set. And there are many, just like everything else, variations and flavors of the same kinds of movements, just like variety of yoga techniques. I'm just warming up my hands a little bit, and this exercise really focuses on the vertical stretch, the spine, the legs, the arms, and helps us to move up and down from the earth to the sky through this body form. It's a wonderful warm up and really helps to activate the full system of the body. Exhale, adjusting breath, gather and release. Priming the pump, readying the systems. Let it go. Gather the breath once again. Hold it full and let it go. We're going to start with the first stage, level 1, stretching. We're going to start in our lotus position, feet about hip to shoulder width apart, palms facing the sky, the middle fingers connecting lightly a little bit below the belly button. So this is kind of low in the lap, kind of right between the perineum and right about the level with the tailbone. And this is the front access point of the sacral chakra, Chinese refer to as the lower dantian, the lower chamber. You can think about it as your pelvis and hip area. Connect the index and thumbs, standing lotus. Level 1, stretching. So breathing at your own pace, breathe in and out of the belly. And then if your body feels like an inhale or an exhale with any particular movement, then follow that. Later on, we'll actually control the breath like we did with Ride the Wave. We'll breathe in sequence and coordination with the movement. But for now, breathe in your belly and just invite your body to participate at the level it can. Free to make adjustments at any time. Open the palms, bend the knees and cross the arms. I'm going to reach across my center line. And for me, it's very comfortable to bring my knees in, even to touch my thighs and knees together. And I'm arcing forward just a little bit, but you might not be comfortable bringing your knees in just yet. Release the arms, and as the hands meet the knees, gently press the knees out. Bring my legs and feet shoulder width apart, and then push up. Arms coming up from the side, about shoulder height, palms forward. Then bending the knees, and most of the time we'll stop with the knees just in line with the big toes. This is greater for mobility, for repetition of movement. But in this case, I'm going to drop as far down as I can without having to lean forward, without having to go into the bend. I'm going to drop my root to the earth, and then now push up from the earth, and like branches of a tree, trunk growing tall and strong. If you can reach above the head, wonderful. If you need to reach out at a diagonal, or even just keep your arms down the whole time, if that's what your body needs, that's what you do. It's less important that your body does exactly what mine does. It's about breathing and moving and connecting. My palms are connected, and to give you a side view, interlace the ring and middle fingers, leave the pinky, index, and thumbs connected. And I'm going to lift up on the arms, and you can keep your head and spine neutral if that's best for your thoracic vertebrae and your neck or your balance. If you can, slide the head back, just like gravity pulling the back of the head, opening up the throat and the front of the body, vertical stretch. Breathe in the belly. Then head can stay neutral or forward, or if you'd like to, you can bring the chin down, but without strain. Opening the back of the neck, back of the head, shoulders, back of the body. And then bend the knees, bend the elbows, interlace the fingers, and float down. Interlacing the fingers and the hands behind the head, thumbs in the soft tissue at the base of the skull. Aligning the spine and locking, or activating the 3 chambers, the upper, middle, and lower chambers. Lift the chin just about level, but it's going to stay slightly tucked to lengthen the cervical vertebrae. I rotate my tailbone under and forward a little bit, and top my hip bone goes back a little bit to lengthen my lumbar spine. The spine will never be perfectly straight, nor is it intended to be, but in this posture with my knees bent, there's an opportunity to lengthen the spine. If my legs are straight, then I need to release those postures. so seated or knees bent. Once I do that, I create a lock in the upper part, the head, neck, and my middle section, my chest and my back by bringing my elbows back. It might be a gentle squeeze or a firm squeeze, and then I squeeze my belly, squeeze my legs. So I'm activating, squeezing my entire body, gentle or firmly, and then let it all go. Relax. Elbows come forward, rounded in the back. Shift and rock. I'm going to rock back onto the heels and let my toes come up briefly, or just shift your weight back a little bit if you're, working up your balance. Hands above the crown. I'll give you a side view. As my hands begin to rotate, my arms actually come forward of my body a little bit, about 10 or 15 degrees forward. So I'm actually going to push up at a slight diagonal as I go up onto my toes. Looking slightly down diagonally or straight ahead is easiest for balance. Over time, you may be able to look at your hands or just below your hands. And then eventually, once you're up here, you'll be able to go all the way up. But for now, stay at a slight diagonal. Release the elbows and point the index fingers, focusing between the index fingers and like drawing a big circle over through the air. Arms coming down. My arms are a little bit in front of my body to make movement of my shoulders easy. So I slowly descend onto the heels and I gather myself all around myself and into my root and belly, my lower chamber, and relax. Cross the arms, bend the knees, or let the knees dip into whatever is comfortable for you. Breathe into the belly, release the arms, the knees press out, and lift from the sides. We're going to begin to expand the awareness of where our body is. This is our wingspan, but our body isn't just the physical form, it's all around us. Right? There's an extension of us. And as I bend the knees and drop back down, my arms continue to rise, and now I'm ready, and I push all the way up into this vertical stretch. Let me come forward a little bit. Palms and fingers matched up. Arms could be directly up or directly down or anywhere in between. Interlace the ring and middle fingers. Lift up on the arms. Keep the head neutral if that's best for you, or let the head slide back. Breathe into the belly. Chin forward or chin down, depending on what you can do, and breathe. And then melt. Interlace the fingers, let the hands float down, resting the hands gently behind the head, thumbs in soft tissue, base of the skull. And then lift the chin just about level, slightly, ever so slightly tucked. Elbows and shoulder blades back, a gentle or a firm squeeze. Tilt the tailbone. Comes under a little bit. You'll feel the top of the thighs activate a little bit more. Top of the hip bone goes back. You might feel a release in your lumbar spine, your lower back muscles, opening up the back and the front. I pull and squeeze and release. Elbows come forward. And then shift back and rock, briefly breaking this contact with the earth. Hands above the crown. And again, if I can't push up, I'm going to push up at a slight diagonal. Maybe I push forward or push down. Right, so that can work too. Push up onto the toes, and maybe you can hold it up on the toes. Maybe you need to come up briefly and go back down. Eventually you'll find the balance point, squeezing into the belly, opening up this vertical alignment, pushing up with the index fingers, big open circle, like an arc of light, electrical arc between the hands, and not just where the arms are, but in the front and the back, in all directions, a sphere, coming and returning. Moving on to our second exercise in Fire Flower Qigong. Exercise 2, the Archer. Shift to one side. I take my weight to one side and take a deep breath in. Open up a little bit to the side, exhale and cross my arms. If that feels wide enough for you, stay there. Or you could even be in a chair and move your legs out. If I feel like it could go wider, open up, I test, bend the knees, inhale up. Point the index fingers, palms forward, hands above the head. Exhale and sit lightly. Moving into a wide horse stance, like we're on top of a horse. The feet are equidistant, right into the center. Relax the breath. Now, as we've gone into this horizontal stretch, this position, we're still aligned vertically. So we came up, and now we're aligning into that center. If your legs get tired, you could always bring them in, make the adjustment. Turn to one side, but we're actually going to turn from the waist rather than the hips at this time. I'm not going to let my hip come in. I'm going to imagine I'm on top of a horse, and there's not really room for my knees to come in any further. They're going to stay out. Imagine I'm drawing on a bow and arrow. Bow is in the front hand. The bow pushes forward while the string finger pulls back, elbow pointing back. And I'm just going to gently bend my knees. A lot of times we'll go into a very deep squat, but we're not going to start there. We work our way there. Get this, imagine extending my mind to my finger, through my arm, and then out to the horizon. I look center and open up wide. Imagine that I reach out to the horizon, this wide, deep, rich base in my legs. Even if I'm in a natural stance instead and I'm not there yet, that's okay. And I'm going to straighten my legs. I'm going to bring my elbows in, gently squeeze the body or firmly squeeze the body, and begin to rotate the shoulders, bringing the hands towards each other. And for this last little bit, I'm going to bend my knees again as my hands come together, palms forward in front of the chest. And you might not be able to hold your hands like I have them with just the index finger extended. You might have full palms or some kind of fist with your fingers up. Turn to the other side. I stay right down the middle. The tendency is as I turn in this particular posture, there are toes open, and you can go that way too. That opens you up a little bit more. There's different versions. Right now, we're just right down the middle of that seat on top of a horse. Draw back the string, extend the bow, and press just a little bit. I'm not going super deep, right? When I work up to it, I can go there. I'm send my mind, my awareness through my arm to my fingertip, out to the horizon. Look center and let that stretch all the way across both arms, reaching out to the horizon. And then I pull the horizon in. Bend the elbows a little bit. Rise a little bit. Arms begin to rotate. Coming all the way up. My legs are straight, but my knees are not locked back. I keep a little bit of a gentle bend in my knees, soft joints, so blood can flow. And the last little bit, I pull myself and anchor myself into the chest, the heart, the legs, and relax. Walk the feet in one at a time, or shimmy the feet, heels in, breath in, toes in, breath out, heels in, breath in, toes in, breath out. Or once again, you could have walked your way in, third deep breath, and release. And Uding, U hyphen D-I-N-G, tuning inward, looking inside. Right now we're choosing to hold the palms like we're holding something delicate like a soap bubble. If you're like to imagine things or visualize things, imagine you're holding a radiant sun, a ball of light. And if your arms are tired, you could hold that lower in front of the belly instead. Or if you like, you can just release your arms and let them hang at the side altogether. As we tune inward and draw our awareness, our attention, the focus of our mind, breath in the belly, sensations of the body. What's happening inside me? Is there anything different than from when I started today, this practice? How do I feel? Breathe into the belly. Connect into the body. And if you don't know how to do that yet, then just focus on your breathing. And free to shift and sway and twist if standing still is uncomfortable. So we want to adhere to the practice as long as it doesn't become painful or distracting. Right? So if it's just too much, then we can always dial it back or skip it, modify it. Free to move, free to adjust, free to adapt and modify as we need to. We may never, reach the ideal, and that's okay too. Even with time and practice, we might only be able to get so far. One aspect of our practice or another, and that's just fine. That's okay. And just relax the arms, shaking the branches of the tree. Again, it might be slow and deliberate, light and easy. Shake a leg, step in place. All right, hope you've enjoyed your journey. We're going to continue with a little bit more of a cool down kind of thing, a little bit of all kinds of practices and ways that we could uh, settle things at the end and make sure nothing got too tight or too stuck. And so we're going to start by brushing our fingers through our hair. And if brushing your fingers, maybe a lightly tap. And if lightly tapping doesn't feel good, maybe you just gently place your hands along your head or just place your hands on your head and leave them be. Like you're combing your hair. And I'll take that down the back of my neck. I'm modifying a little bit because I don't want to make noise through my microphone. Maybe rub the shoulders. Maybe you can or cannot reach those areas. That's okay. Reach across and rub the shoulder. Or maybe rubbing doesn't feel right. Maybe tapping feels better. Maybe just gently moving your hand along like you're washing your hands. Other side. Just kind of working out the kinks. Maybe again you could tap or just hold in place. We don't want to brush the heart too much. It's okay if you're doing that and that happens a few times. We don't want to do that over and over again. Better off to tap or just to hold in place. Or we could scan and hover. So we'll also do, later on we'll do things where we're using the body's energy field to scan and to move. So gently on the side of the rib cage, very gently in the solar plexus and down into the belly, around the hips and lower back, and that might be working your arms a bit. You might have to shake a leg, let it go, and stop for a second. We're doing a very kind of quick, light set of this. So if we were doing an extended set, you might feel it in your arms more. Working the way down the legs, and equal pressure side to side, front and back on the knees, and maybe you can't reach there. Maybe you do this later on when you're sitting on the edge of the chair or the bed. Maybe you have something you can put your foot up on, or maybe you're great with balance and you can work it that way. Working to the feet. Again, maybe you have to do this part later. Most of the time I wake up in the morning and breathing, and I start rubbing my feet together like a cricket. All right, so like self-massage using my own feet. Activate my body. All right, and one more time, chi up. We can do it with or without the clap, with or without the brushing, the rubbing of the arms. Maybe you just hold your hands together instead. Maybe having them up is uncomfortable, so you bring them down. These are just exercises, ways to gain the technique, to gain sensitivity and awareness, cultivating the skill. And it's not ultimately about this. And over time, it becomes pretty unnecessary, where we could just breathe and focus our mind, and we can feel more blood moving to the extremities. We can just voluntarily Let go of the stress and the tension. Soften this inner resilience, yet supple. There are times where I need to really work my muscles and work my body, but I want to be sure that that's what I'm actually doing, that I'm not holding tension and straining my muscles when nothing's actually taking place. That requires that level of engagement. I want to be so soft and relaxed that I'm a wet noodle, that I have no form. I want to find that middle point, like high pressure water running through a hose. The hose, flip floppy, suddenly has this internal pressure, makes it stronger, yet it still stays flexible. Just bringing our awareness to the breath, the body. And 3 final deep cleansing breaths. Maybe you've had enough of the deep breathing, so you keep it gentle, maybe in and out through the nose. If you can't breathe through your nose, you breathe gently in and out through the mouth, like sipping through a straw. Or it can be big and loud and expanded. And let it down. Gather and release. 3 breaths. Each breath becoming bigger, stronger than the one before. The inhale energizes us. Exhale with an ah sound relaxes us. Thanks for coming out to play. Namaste. She. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed yourself. We'll see you again next time we're live. Okay. Peace and love.